Thank you, Gwen. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here this day. Before I start the presentation, I know I don't have a lot of time, but I was intrigued by Gwen's remarks, detailed, thoughtful, not really anything to add to the metrics and measurements, but it does occur to me that I started my career in mining back in 1989, going to Mali, West Africa to explore for gold, our little private syndicate of IAMGOLD, quirky name. And in those 30 years, understanding risk, assessing risk, managing it, risk and uncertainty was central to this industry. But it occurs to me now, as investors, a lot of that assessment was about risks that were in a faraway place. It's going to be interesting for me to watch how this all plays out when that risk and uncertainty is perceived as being in the midst of these developed countries, and then compare how the developing countries over that 30 years have not only survived through risk and uncertainty, but in many cases have thrived, certainly with regard to mining in a place like Mali that when we went, there was nobody going there. There was no gold production to speak of. And 30 years later, they're the third largest producer of gold in Africa. So developing countries, managing risk and living with it, first world countries, it's going to be an interesting comparative, I guess, to look at. So turning to Compass Gold, we have gone back to Mali, and in our view as investors, there really are three essential things that you should be looking at for every junior company today, any day when you're assessing them. People, the place, and their performance. Not their promise, but their performance. And in the case of Compass, I think there's a substantial case to be made that we have amongst the strongest, most experienced people, management team within this band of junior exploration. My partners from IAMGOLD, Bill Pugliese, Joe Conway stepping in to go back to Mali to the exploration and discovery stage, which was the genesis of IAMGOLD. Partnered with a 30-year track record of Madani Diallo, a Malian geologist, country manager for AngloGold, who are our joint venture partners. So strong people, 30 years of experience, not just in mining, but working with each other, and a lot of that success and experience right here in Mali, West Africa. So in that right location, this is truly one of the most prolific and active gold regions in the world. Over the last 5 to 10 years, the number of ounces that have been discovered, developed, mines that have been built, capital that has gone into this region from the likes of B2 Gold, Resolute, Endeavour, Hummingbird, AngloGold Ashanti, in addition to IAMGOLD. So this is the right place to be, as far as we're concerned, to make major discoveries. And then in terms of track record, we'll go into a little more detail, but very early on, since the inception of this Compass return to Mali in December of 2017, fundamental exploration work leading to drilling, leading to discovery. No shortcuts. There's a large swath of land, in total 867 square kilometers. Never a drill hole put into any of this ground before we hit the ground back in essentially the start of 2018. Also important, as John mentioned, how we use our resources. Our philosophy is that exploration and development occurs in the field. So I want 90 cents of every dollar to go into the ground, not into a boardroom or a pocket or a conference. And that's been our practice. So we look to work with a G&A of about $600,000 Canadian a year and spend $5 to $6 million a year in Mali on the ground doing exploration where value is being created, where you can create value. And it's also important to note that with our ability to raise money, and I'll talk about our shareholder group, we're fully funded. So we're fully funded through the end of this year. And then when we assess the work and the results, we'll turn to our shareholders, add more money to the treasury. So it's a systematic approach, but it's one where we're not relying on any single drill hole or turning to the market every 2-3 months saying we need another $1 million to keep going. A little pictorial on our management team. Thanks to my wife, that photo was photoshopped, so I don't look that good, obviously. Our board of directors, Joe Conway, Bill Pugliese, Madani Diallo, who I had mentioned, one of our largest shareholders, and Jamie Henderson out of Australia, Transocean. So we have an Australian, North American, and London-based shareholder group that started the company. That we talked about that location. This isn't one large block, contiguous block. This was hand-picked ground along 3 separate trends. Madani Diallo and his private group held it for 4 years, spent about $4 million before bringing it to Compass. And you can see that the 3 blocks to the northwest, a little further south, and then over to the east, track structure and trends and existing mines, major mines and deposits. So they've been strategically located and picked. So a little bit on the financing. We raised $6 million when we started the company. That $6 million Canadian lasted us 16 months. Come April of 2019, we had some initial drill results. We went to our shareholders looking to raise $2 million. We effectively had a book of $4 million in 36 hours. We cut it back. We brought in a couple of additional, what we would call strategic shareholder groups, including Gwen and some of her premium subscribers, and carried on. In November, after going to Beaver Creek, we were approached by more than 2 groups to come in and become sort of 10 to 20% shareholders. Out of that process and due diligence, we decided that Semifo, major producer, West African focused producer, made the best strategic sense. They were happy to put in as much money as we needed. We took $2 million, and our existing shareholders came up with another $3.5 million to fund us from November. We already had funds through to the end of 2020. We're going to take our original results, drill results, which I'll touch on, brought a lot of attention to the company last year, and now expand out and move into roughly 60 drill targets that our team had identified. It is a supportive shareholder group. I think it's important to note that management originally held 30%. We didn't sell anything, but by dilution of additional shareholders, we still hold 20% management and directors, and our top 25 shareholders, including Semifo now, own another 50% of the company. So 70% of our shares are held by management and 25 key shareholders. I talked about cash management. Let's turn to some of the properties. Last year, all of our drilling was focused on a target that you'll see towards the bottom called Farabakoura. We drilled 54 holes, 100 meters. This is all open pit, near surface drilling. 50 of those 54 holes returned strong mineralization, and we had really 2 trends or 2 structural events that were occurring on this Farabakoura target. And this represents all of the drill holes at Farabakoura. So in purple, you'll see the outline of artisanal pits that had previously gone down to the water table. Our first drilling there last year produced wide zones, 60 meters at 1.4 grams, 32 meters at 3.02. Open pit mining occurs in Mali at a very profitable rate between a gram and a gram and a half when it's near surface. And on top of that, we have these high-grade cross-cutting quartz structure that adds a little icing to what might be the cake that comes out of the ground. So we had 18 meters at 20 grams per ton, 6 meters at 65 grams per ton. So very positive, very encouraging. But for our team, just a first step. This area represents about 5% of our total land package. So this year, we've continued that drilling in the Farabakoura area and moved up the trend. It's a 15-kilometer shear zone that's on our property. The first drilling brought some high-grade results and confirmed that the rock that hosts that kind of grade and mineralization continues to the north. And then just Thursday, we extended our drilling down to the south at Terabala we'll be drilling about 3,000 to 4,000 meters at Terabala, Sadala, and Samanguila. These are high-grade surface anomalies, also with artisanal gold, all the same indicators that we had at Farabakoura. I'll just take one additional second in terms of our details. We have 54 million shares outstanding. We had, as of December, $6.2 million Canadian in the bank. These share figures were based on, you'll see, February 11th. Like some others, we're down below that right now. Our market cap is about 15 million Canadian, so it's still a micro company, but large company and large industry shareholders who are behind this and ready to move it forward for the rest of this year and beyond. So thank you for your attention.